Joining me now is Democratic Congressman Seth Moulton of Massachusetts. Congressman, thanks for being here. Now, look, you ran against Biden in the Democratic primaries in 2020, and I'm just curious, just as a former competitor, a direct competitor, what did you notice about his debate style, and what advice would you give him now as he prepares to face off against Trump?
Sure. Well, Omar, first of all, thank you for remembering that. You're one of the few Americans who remembers that I ran for president a few years ago. But look, Joe Biden needs to come into this and just show Americans that he's in control, he's competent, he's a normal guy. And that's such a contrast to the convicted felon he's running against. This is not a time for zingers, for zealotry. Biden just needs to show confidence, command of the facts, and command of his really impressive record in contrast to Trump's criminal record. That's what Biden does well. He just comes across as the ordinary guy you can sit down and have a milkshake with. That's what we need to see from Joe Biden on the debate stage.
And look, I think the stakes are very clear here. To this point, polls have really shown no real clear leader at this point. But I guess bottom line, do you think a good debate performance will actually give him a legitimate boost in the polls here?
I mean, let's be honest. The criticism about Biden is that he's old. And when he came out of the State of the Union after a magnificent performance with tremendous energy, everyone, even conservatives, the Fox News talking heads were talking about how much energy Joe Biden has. That's what he needs. Now, again, that's not by going over the top. That's just by showing confidence, command. He's a commander in chief. If he can demonstrate that he can stand on that debate stage and take all the hits from Trump, who clearly is not much of a commander in chief, then Joe Biden will come out ahead. And I think that a lot of this will then depend on what the press says, right? A lot of studies show that it's not about just who wins the debate, but what the press says about the debate afterwards. He needs another performance like the State of the Union. And if he gets that, I think it will set him ahead in the polls.
And as we know, we just heard from Kevin a little bit earlier, President Biden is at Camp David with advisors going through debate prep. Former President Trump is out on the campaign trail right now. I want to ask you about a comment that Trump actually just made regarding migrants at the conservative Christian event in Washington this morning. Here's a clip.
I said, Dana, I have an idea. Why don't you set up a migrant league of fighters and have your regular league of fighters? And then you have the champion of your league. These are the greatest fighters in the world. Fight the champion of the migrants. I think the migrant guy might win. That's how tough they are. He didn't like that idea too much, but actually it's not the worst idea I've ever had.
Now, look, we've heard what I would call a wide range of language from former President Trump when it comes to migrants. But I play that because do you think the nature of those types of comments is something that President Biden should bring up during the debate when he's asked about likely a very serious question about policy and immigration?
Look, of course, those are offensive and derogatory comments, but I actually don't think that that's what Biden should bring up. He should focus on one thing, that Trump and the Republicans are playing politics with immigration while Democrats are trying to fix the problem. That's the message that we need to get across. Immigration is a huge issue in this election. It's an issue not just on the southern border, but in communities like the ones I represent up here in Massachusetts. We have a real issue with migrants. But let's remember, Trump told the Republicans to sink the bipartisan deal in the Senate. He said, I want this to be an election issue. He said to America, I want to play politics with this issue. That's what Joe Biden needs to focus on. The president needs to remind Americans that he's proposed solutions, that he's doing things to address the border crisis. Trump is playing politics with it.
Before we go, Congressman, I want to turn to politics abroad because, look, you're a member of the House Armed Services Committee. The Biden administration announced it's prioritizing critical air defense capabilities for Ukraine over other countries. This is on top of that 10-year agreement with Ukraine for military assistance as well. Meanwhile, we're seeing Putin threatening to arm North Korea if the West continues to arm Ukraine. So I guess my question is the U.S. doing enough you believe, to strengthen our allies as Russia ramps up its attacks and rhetoric?
Well, I think the Biden administration has been doing well, but all along I've encouraged them to move more quickly to get Ukraine the permissions that they need to use our weapons and the weapons themselves even more quickly than we have. And you know what? Again, when it comes back to the debate here, let's remember that Biden is the commander in chief who's taken charge of this incredibly dangerous world at a very dangerous time for not just our allies, but for America as well, dealing with crises in Israel, with Russia, and preventing a war in China. We don't want a madman in Donald Trump being commander in chief. And the more that President Biden can remind people that this is a dangerous world and we need competence in the Oval Office, I think he'll do well in this debate.
And Congressman, we do have to go, but I do want to ask you very quickly about the GI Bill that you're putting forward with a few other members of Congress. Just if you can quickly, can you just tell us the significance of this and what you all are trying to accomplish here?
This is the anniversary of the GI Bill. I used the GI Bill. Millions of Americans have used the GI Bill, but it was denied to a lot of black veterans of World War II. So my bill is the GI Bill Restoration Act, which simply restores the benefits those heroes earned. I hope it gets a hearing in the House.
Yeah. Congressman Seth Moulton, thanks for being here on a variety of topics. Really appreciate your time.
Good to see you, Omar.
And for everyone else, you can catch the CNN presidential debate right here on CNN coming up on Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern and streaming on Max. I'll see you there.